I think sometimes, there's the negative stigma that comes with video games. Like, there was like a lot of like kind of these nerdier pop culture things that like came in front of me when I was a kid. Like everyone's parents are going, do you feel like that's less or more now? How do you feel about it?
I think it still exists. I think it will always be there. And a big thing that sticks out to me it feels somewhat relatable is football. When concussions became such a huge thing, it was towards the end when I was playing. And it was just like, wow, like, is football a great thing? And it brings those questions on, just like gaming. Is gaming a great thing? I think there are great things that we can attach to and try to remove that negativity as much as possible. But, it's focusing on those positives and taking those and using those for the greater good of our students and for what we have here for the community.
How do you start competing in esports? And how easy is it to turn a love for gaming into a college scholarship or even a career? Welcome to The Search Bar. I'm your host, Adam Sparks, and on today's episode, we're talking all things esports with Luke Theis, Senior Assistant Director of Esports here at Central Michigan University. Hi, Luke.
Hello.
Thanks for coming in today. I was really excited when Aaron told me we were going to do this. Producer Aaron, super producer Aaron, who I mentioned, and then Michael has to cut out because I probably don't mention him in the podcast. But I was really excited when we were going to do this because talking about video games is fun. Mm-hmm. I'm an old guy who still plays video games. They've been part of my life since, oh my gosh, like Atari, Sega Core System, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And specifically esports, which is what you do here at Central Michigan University, which is kind of a thing that's springing up all of our college campuses across the country. It's becoming sort of a predominant part of college culture, but also kind of the athletics culture at colleges, which I think is an interesting thing for us to talk about, which is sort of what is esports?
Yeah. So what is esports? The great question. To me and to lots of students, it's just a hobby, something they enjoy doing. And now at colleges and high schools and growing more in the professional scene, it's an opportunity to showcase yourself at a high level of competition against other people, other teams. So for us, it's our college teams competing against other college teams in various different game titles. But for some students, it's just casually playing, hanging out with other students in their dorms, in our gaming facilities that we have on campus, and just connecting with students. And so esports can be a wide range of things, but the main focus is competition towards other teams and other people.
In terms of like how that fits into like the structure of an athletics programs in higher ed, or how this kind of compares to students who are traditional student athletes, which you were, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So you've been on both sides of this thing.
Yeah.
How's it different? How's it the same?
Yeah. So for me, I was a football player in college. As I was transitioning out of that, my university I was at was starting an esports program. And so I jumped into that because it was something fun, exciting, something I felt attached to and wanted to help build, and something I wish I had as a student. And so to me, it's really just giving organized structure to students, especially with gamers. A lot of them, they come home, they play games, but now we're giving them structure and supporting them through school as well too, because we want them to be successful. We want them to get their degrees while also having a great time playing games, enhancing their skills, learning time management, communication, teamwork skills, all of that, just like I did in sports. Football gave me more than just football. I learned how to work with a team, learned how to communicate, team skills, all of that is also with esports, if not more. I was a punter, so how much do I use communication? How much do I use teamwork? Maybe a little less, but for us, our students, every game they play in, all 5 or all 3 students, depending on the game, they are communicating, they are working. There's always something they have to do, and it's almost a higher level of thinking because it is constantly happening, and everything's happening very quickly.
Would you say that esports are a sport then?
That's a good question that I try not to answer because I think it's an opinion.
Yeah.
Personally, I lean more that it is a sport. If you look at the definition of what a sport is, it's activity between a person or a team against another person or team that is competitive. And this is a competitive thing. It's just that the action is more inside the game than it is outside the game, like traditional sports. But I will never specifically say it is a sport because I think it's up to who you're asking. And I think esports can be in its own atmosphere, its own thing, and doesn't have to necessarily attach itself to something. It can really become its own thing.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of those same there's kind of a lot of the same ingredients in terms of traditional athletics, right? I mean, there's an audience factor that's there. There's a casual play factor that for people who are either like younger or older. In this case, harder to age out. Although I think you can kind of still age out of esports.
Yeah.
It's not an old man's game.
Yeah, you can a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
I saw something about reaction time playing video games as you get older, and I was like, I'm probably in that category.
Yeah, well, that's a big thing we talk about with our students too, because people view esports as harmful to the student. A parent having a child that wants to play this, well, is it healthy for them? Is it good for them? Well, let's give them the information that you have a better reaction time. You're going to perform better in game if you're getting the right sleep, the right nutrition, all of those things. Just like a NASCAR driver, they did a study, their heart rate increases when they're racing. Same thing with our esports athletes, their heart rate increases. So we want to make sure we're helping them physically, mentally, all of those things so they can perform in game just as well too. So there is some healthy benefits, but we do understand that gaming, someone playing video games 12 hours a day is not a good thing. That just being transparent about that. So we want to make sure that we're helping our students with structure, with good, positive, healthy things that will help them later if they get a desk job.
Yeah.
How to move around in the desk job to not be stuck to the chair and have those unhealthy habits of sitting in a chair all day. So adding things to give them that they can use in a workplace later.
Yeah, I mean, too much of a good things can be bad. I mean,
Yeah.
to be clear, if you wouldn't want to be running around the indoor track for 12 hours a day either. That would probably not bear well for your
Yes.
knees or your body fat percentage.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you can exercise yourself to death too.
Yes.
you can sit in a chair until you're unhealthy.
So we're trying
as
to
well.
help our students find that healthy balance
Yeah.
and make that be something beneficial for them and not a hindrance.
How has it changed and grown since you've gotten involved? What are the biggest things that have happened?
A lot, because 2015 was probably the kickoff. It was when the first college gave scholarships, and then going into 2020, it became really popular because COVID.
Yeah.
What do we do? How do we make things happen for students? And esports was that opportunity that, oh, hey, these students can be in their dorms, they can be isolated and be participating and be involved and part of something that gives them a sense of community that esports can do. And so it grew a lot during 2020. That's right when I started. I started as a GA, and we started with 40 students in a varsity program, built a facility, gave them space to practice and compete, and now it's grown even more. There's over 400 universities that are competing at a NACE level, which NACE is the National Association of Collegiate Esports. They're the most governing body that esports has. There's not really a governing body, but NACE is kind of that, and that's what we view as the governing body for us, and so we follow all of NACE's things, and there's over 400 universities competing now, so it's growing yearly and every day. More programs are jumping into esports. More universities are jumping into esports.
And it's not just the competition, right? I want to talk. You talked a little bit about like since 2020, as here at the university we both work at, that program, that facility has kind of started to take up a little bit more space. And what are the other things that are going on, like in terms of in our case, the Mid-Michigan community, the Mount Pleasant community, the CMU community? What else does the esports facility and the esports team kind of do?
Yeah, great question. So we have, just for the CMU community, we have varsity teams that compete against other teams. We have clubs, so students are welcome to join the clubs, have their own events and activities, and also play against other club teams, just like club sports. And then we just have come in and use our facility Monday through Friday, 5 to 10 p.m. It's open to the community at a $5 an hour rate, and it's benefit of our students' tuition, so they get access to the space with no cost. So there's that available, but then also looking at the larger community in high schools, it's growing even more. Our region specifically doesn't have a lot of high school numbers, and I think we could play a crucial role in helping get high school esports off the ground, because there's a lot of barriers. There are some costs to equipment. There's things that we could be providing to the local area to help grow esports even more and show it as an opportunity to help students get into colleges.
What does that look like for someone who's looking to start something like that up? If you were gonna tell an 8th grade potential esports coach, like what do you need? What's the bare minimum to kind of get a team up and running?
Yeah, so you would probably need a couple computers depending on what you want to do. If you're just kind of a Rocket League team, you only need 3 computers. You could put a team together and play. There's 2 leagues in Michigan that are available for high schools and schools to participate in, and they do support middle school and high school, so you could do both. And so you join that league. That league also provides support and assistance with information, all sorts of things to help start a program and get it going. And so I would connect them with both those organizations.
What are you talk about Rocket League. What are the big games right now? What's prevalent on the college scene? What are they all playing?
Yeah, so for us, we have League of Legends, Overwatch 2, Rocket League, Super Smash Bros., and Valorant. Four of those, League of Legends, Overwatch, Rocket League, and Valorant, are in the athletic conference that we compete in. Our athletic conference actually created an esports collegiate conference that we compete in against all of our athletic opponents, plus 2 additional schools that joined outside of the MAC. And so we compete against them in those 4 titles. Those are the titles we have, but other schools also have titles like Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege, Counter-Strike, Halo. There's a wide range that's covered at a lot of universities, but we're just focusing on those 5, and we support other titles in our gaming clubs.
What's the biggest one right now for you guys? What's your best team?
For us, this past year, we just made a major commitment to Rocket League, and so we're giving those students scholarships, and we're getting them a coach. It's something that I try to communicate a lot, is that I'm not a coach.
Yep.
I'm more like I'm a director. I oversee, I help. I cannot coach 5 different teams and 5 different games that are all getting updates and changing, all the time. And so getting them a coach, getting the scholarships is a big jump. And we're making that commitment because Rocket League is easy to understand. It's very popular. It has a really good path to a national championship, Collegiate Rocket League. It's very well known, gets a lot of viewership, and can help the university and also the students that are interested in Rocket League. And there's a lot of students that are interested in Rocket League.
So you talked about getting scholarships for those esports athletes. What's that journey been like? What does that look like for you all? How does that change things for you?
Yeah. So when I first got here, we were not offering esports scholarships, and at my last school we were. So it kind of takes away from, I'm no longer trying to recruit students. I'm taking the students that are already at CMU and finding, diamonds in the rough, or students that are really interested, getting them involved and getting them going in esports and assisting them as much as I can. Now that we're able to have these scholarships, with this year, main focus was retention, giving it to students that have given time and sacrifice for the program, and honoring them and what they've done these last few years and thanking them. And this next year we'll be recruiting and looking for top talent to come to CMU and represent us at higher levels and potentially national championship levels to get CMU out there on the map in collegiate esports. And so scholarships has been a huge thing. It's supporting the students, which, as a former student athlete, a big thing that I needed was support to do what I was doing. I was lucky that my parents supported me enough. I didn't have to get a job, and the scholarship helped on top of that. But we have students that they weren't on scholarship, and they're working jobs, working in esports, helping do what we're doing in esports while also being a student, which being a student is first and foremost. And so we want to make sure we can support them so they can get what's done in the classroom while also helping us in esports and helping build a reputation for CMU.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of time. I think that's one of the things where if you're removed from being at a university, or you've never been yourself, like students who are involved in athletics or some of the major like institutions that are like extracurricular in a university, right? Like our co-curricular students that work at the newspaper or are doing a broadcast, or the students that run threads like our fashion show or esports. Like it's a lot of time to be doing that and going to work and keeping up on your studies. Like it's a tremendous amount of pressure for those students. So scholarships are relief.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we're supporting them and allowing them to be successful in esports like they want to be, and in the classroom.
Like, speaking about the classroom, what are some of the, and I know this is probably like very broad in terms of your students, but like students who have like kind of a career path that lines up with some of the things that they're experiencing at esports, like what are those to you, or at least in your mind?
Yeah, so most of our students, over 50%, are STEM focused students, but we have a wide range of students, from finance to marketing to business to all wide range of things. And it's really how they want to apply it. I think something unique, and a student actually came back to me and was telling me this, that because they had esports on their resume, they asked a lot of questions around it. What is this esports thing, and how can our students talk about it and make it a sellable thing, just like I did with football. When I had it on my resume, I talked about it, I let them know it. It gave me time management, communication skills, helped me know when to be on time, when to be there and be focused. And esports can do that same thing. And so make it something that's a sellable point, and not something that you kind of say, oh, I played video games in college. No, there's more than that. Talk about everything you learned, everything you gained from it, and it can help. But there are specific things that can attach to that. Any management position, we have students that are also team managers, and so they're getting managerial experience as a student, very hands-on experience. We have students that run our live streams, run productions, and create video content and other content for us. So it's helping them build their portfolios and build things for them that help them later after college.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of careers that align with those things, but there's esports specific careers when you leave here. This is not a shrinking industry by any means.
No, it's very much growing. There are professional organizations that are always looking for students coming out of college to bring into that atmosphere of professional esports, and there's lots of opportunity in various areas, from managing a business that is a professional organization, to managing a team, to doing marketing for that team. Whatever it is, there's lots of opportunity, and even just running gaming events across the country, there's opportunities for that as well too.
How many students you have that are contributing to the process outside of those who are playing in the games?
So we have about 50 students that are competing for us, and then we have about 60 students that are employed through esports with us. We have esports attendants that oversee our space, manage the space, make sure it's safe, secure, and any guests get their questions answered and get help as needed. We have team managers that are assisting our teams. We have a production team, so we have a producer, a couple of observers and casters, and then we also have a video editor and a social media manager as well too, and a graphic designer.
I mean, it's really like it's a 1-to-1 ratio. I mean, 50, 60 students on each side of it there, that keeps this thing kind of up and running.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, I wanted to think about that. I think sometimes there's the negative stigma that comes with video games, and I know I feel it a lot. I'm 42 years old. And I grew up very much in an era where the TV's routing your brain, the Nintendo's routing your brain, Magic the Gathering will send you straight to hell. There was a lot of kind of these nerdier pop culture things that came across, that came in front of me when I was a kid. Everyone's parents are going a little bit. Do you feel like that? Do you feel like that's less or more now? How do you feel about it?
I think it still exists. I think it will always be there. And a big thing that sticks out to me it feels somewhat relatable is football. When concussions became such a huge thing, it was towards the end when I was playing, and it was just wow, is football a great thing? And it brings those questions on, just like gaming. Is gaming a great thing? And I think there are great things that we can attach to and try to remove that negativity as much as possible. But it's focusing on those positives and taking those and using those for the greater good of our students and for what we have here for the community.
Tell me a positive esports story. Tell me something that makes you happy when you think about it with one of your students.
I mean, the thing that got me into it was I had some experiences as a student athlete that I didn't think were the greatest. And so when I got the opportunity to help build an esports program, I saw an opportunity to help students outside of esports. And I know with sports, sometimes the focus is winning and kind of everything else is thrown out the window. But for me and for the program we're building, it's about the students, trying to give them the best opportunity. And so we had a situation where a student's parents didn't approve of what they were doing, pretty much dismissed them from the family just because they were involved in an esports program and competing on a team. And so we helped them through that. We brought them into our community. We made them feel like they were one of us and that it was a big family thing. And they've been doing well. They're at my last school. They're still a part of that program there, and they're still doing well to this day. And so I was happy to be that support system for that student when they kind of lost that for a bit. And there's a lot of students that have come to us and hey, I was in my dorm, didn't know if I wanted to be at the university I was at, or wasn't feeling great, and finally made that connection with somebody that was in the program, joined the program, got involved, and now they're happy that they got involved and they're doing what they're doing, whether it's playing or assisting our program in other areas. And so it's just an opportunity to get that sense of community, be a part of something bigger than yourself. That really motivates me, and just creating those opportunities for students, which is something I wish I had. I wish I had an esports program when I was going. My freshman year, I actually considered dropping out of school and pursuing professional esports, but my computer broke. So it was a good sign that, let's stay in here, and it ended up working out that I'm working in collegiate esports now and building a program. So.
Yeah, who'd have thought it, right? What was your game when you were in college?
Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike?
Yeah, I played Call of Duty a lot growing up. It was a fun game with friends, but there was never enough strategy, and Counter-Strike is a whole another level of strategy and game planning that I really enjoy. I like strategy games, and so I really grabbed onto that, and I think in a 2-year time frame, I got 2,000 hours in the game and played a lot. And was at a point that I was going to make the leap, but did not make the leap. But I don't regret it. I'm pretty happy where I'm at and doing what I'm doing.
What's your game right now?
Probably Rocket League. I play a lot of Rocket League. It's quick games, which is nice with the busy schedule that I have, because I only have a little bit of time on the weekends and stuff to connect with some old friends that still play Rocket League. And so we'll play some quick games for 30 minutes to an hour, and then go back to doing what we all do as adults now.
No, I would have thought it would have been Valorant since you're a Counter-Strike guy.
Yeah, and I enjoyed Valorant. It's a great game too. It's just the time,
Yeah.
the time commitment, and when I play Valorant, I have to have 4 friends. I can't play solo queue, and it's same with Rocket League. I can't play solo queue. I'm not a solo queue person. I got to play with friends, and really we're just talking the whole time. I'm not too competitive anymore these days.
Do you think you can beat the students at any of them?
I can beat some students. We actually did a 10.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, we did a 12-hour live stream last year for Extra Life, Children's Miracle Network, to raise funds for that, and I got to jump in some games with some students and play. And I wasn't bottom of the scoreboard. I was fighting pretty good.
This is in Rocket League.
I did Rocket League and Valorant. I did play some Valorant that time.
I tried to play Valorant recently, and it reminded me of how long it's been since I played Counter-Strike.
Yeah,
I was like, probably not.
Yeah, even when I went back and played a couple months ago, because it's been a bit. You got to get off the what's the word? You got to break the break the ice and get back into it and kind of get back to used to the movements and how to aim and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big thing about a lot of these games, that if you're not in these communities, or if you've never been around a game where that gets played fairly competitively, even as somebody who's not doing it for any kind of a purse or a trophy, there's a lot to it in terms of how good you can just physically be at the game, and then how well you can understand like what the game lets you do or expects you to do to be successful. And I think that type of cognition and that type of, like, I guess, physicality, the reflexes of playing the thing, I think it can be lost on folks who aren't near it, right? Like some of these games are just, I couldn't throw you in and expect you to be good at it in 100 hours, some of them, right? I mean,
Rocket League, I have over 2,000 hours, and probably around 800 hours, I finally felt decent.
Yeah.
Like I could hit the ball when I want to hit the ball and hit it to where I wanted to hit it to, but and I'm still to this day, I'm not a mechanical player. Like there's things called jump resets, ceiling shots, and things that I'm still learning how to do after 2,000 hours that I can't do because it takes so much work and practice doing it over and over and over until you can do it every single time, that our students are working on every day.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those games where it's so accessible, right? Like Rocket League is an incredibly accessible game. So if you've never played Rocket League, or you've never played a video game, but you have any access to a computer or a console, I believe Rocket League's free to play, right?
Yep, free to play.
Yeah, try it out. Play it for 10 hours and then go watch a video of somebody who's like a professional at it, and you'll be like, I am an infant. Like,
it's crazy, the difference. And Rocket League's kind of that definition standard that you look for in a sport or esport is easy to understand. Watching it, you get it. You're trying to score the soccer ball into the goal, but then hard to master, where you can spend lots of time and still not be able to do what you're watching these professional players do, which is just like we see in sports. Crazy bicycle kicks, one-hand catches. Everybody wants to recreate those as kids, and that's why they pursue that in high school and college.
Then there's a lot of moving parts in video games competitively too, right? Like, whereas, we like just in the last year, have watched some crazy ascensions in traditional athletics, right? We've watched, like, you watch Caitlin Clark, you watch Simone Biles come back to the Olympics this summer, and these are people that like completely changed the definition and the expectation of their sport, and the cohort that was around them, right? That same thing kind of happens in esports, but sometimes it's not just the players, it's the developers, right? Because you're kind of playing on a new substrate every, like, I was going to say every 6 months, but sometimes it's like every 6 weeks.
For League of Legends, it updates every 2 weeks, and there's like major changes every 2 weeks. Hence why I cannot coach and keep up with that, because that is just a lot. But yeah, things change constantly. Rocket League's probably been the most consistent over time, but a lot of games do change over seasons or over a few patches or updates, just because they want to change the meta, change what is meta and what's going on.
How much interest are you all getting externally, like in terms of are students reaching out to you? Do you have students that are walking in just to see the space? Like, what's it like right now for you in terms of meeting young people?
Yeah, we always have students reaching out, wanting to learn more about the program, and from all over too. It's not just in United States of America, it's all over the world. Their students are always reaching out, looking for opportunities. We have a high population of international students, and so they're also looking into esports as well too. And so there's always students reaching out. I don't think it ever really stops. And students are always walking in the door wanting to learn more, how they can get involved and what they can be doing. So it's growing a lot. I saw a recent study that says over 70% of students on a campus play video games. So pretty much everyone's kind of doing it. There was another study that said over 90%, but it included mobile gaming.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
had like I forget what the game was, but it was like, it included Wordle. If you
Yeah.
play Wordle, you're
Oh,
a gamer.
you're a gamer. Yeah.
And so I go with the 70% one a little bit better, but
Probably.
in some way, shape, or form, everybody's playing a game or a part of some game on their phone or on their device that they have. And so students are interested in it, and it's only growing more and more every year. There's over 5,000 students that participate in high school esports here in Michigan alone, not even including all the other states that also have high school esports.
Right. And like you said, it's a place for community. I mean, like even folks who aren't going to come in and play at a really high competitive level in the most competitive games, like if they want to be involved in this thing, because maybe they're a different kind of gamer, but they like the idea of it, they watch it. I think that's, let me back this up a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of maybe 7 or 8 years ago when Critical Role started to become huge, right? So Critical Role is a show that is on YouTube and Twitch, and it's voice actors playing Dungeons and Dragons for people who don't know, and it's massive.
Yeah.
It's millions of views for each episode, and it is literally 7 hours of middle-aged nerds playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I think this is wonderful. But what shocked me as this gained in popularity was they started to have, like, because of the massive advertising and things that kind of came with this, there started to be like a sort of audience statistics that would come out, like psychographics for the audience, and the amount of people who had watched hundreds of hours of this show and never played Dungeons and Dragons really struck me.
Yeah.
And I think there's some similar stuff out there for esports too. There's folks who maybe they're a gamer, maybe they're not, but they might not ever play the game that they actually watch in fandom, right? They just, I'm not going to play Valorant, but I'll watch people play it, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. That happens quite a bit, I think. And that's kind of the cool part is when we think of a gaming community, a lot of people may see one big community that's all the same, but it's very broken up into genres, into what they want to be doing, what games specifically they want to play. So we're trying to kind of cover that whole community. We're not trying to just focus on one or two communities. We want to support all students from tabletop gaming to desktop and console gaming as well too. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing too, is that community, if you're that viewer, it's the chat rooms, it's the Discord. And I think, I say that with a little bit of caution, because I know that a lot of us are aware that the internet is a place that is full of like vapid, nasty behavior at times, but that's not always the case. There's a lot of positive things that happen for folks that are in these communities. They wouldn't stick around otherwise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got people who love to be trolls, but there's, I think, far more folks who are just getting enrichment in their personal lives from being attached.
Yeah, I think one great thing is we do have a Discord server for our program. When a student joins, they have to verify that they're a student, or alumni, and faculty or staff are welcome as well too. And it automatically changes their name from their gamer name to their first and last name.
So you're accountable.
Yes, we've had 0 issues in our Discord. Nobody's been toxic or brought on anything to the Discord that wouldn't be welcome. And obviously they understand it would be taken to student conduct if it did happen, but we've had 0 incidences where we've had to take something to student conduct in our Discord. And so I think with that accountability, and I think that's what the internet gives, is you can be someone that you're not and have a fake name and play this card, but really when you are yourself online, you're not going to act that way, and you are more professional and more respectful. Yeah. And we've seen that.
There's ways to do it, right?
Yes, ways to keep it positive and a good thing for the students.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing for younger people who are considering coming to an institution and coming at it at this level, and for parents to understand, right? Like, nobody's here for your kids to get drugged down into some dark corner of the internet where they're chatting about this stuff. Like, this is a community that's very much here and supporting themselves, whether they're online or whether they're in the digital space doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk. Let's move it over a little bit and talk about some of the stuff that's going on just in the esports world. The IOC announcement of like exploring in this is the International Olympic Committee, correct? IOC.
Yeah.
My notes say IOC. I forgot what it meant. I think it's exciting, the idea that like this is being brought up, but there's also a little bit of kickback because of what was brought up. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, it's so what they're, from what I saw.
Yeah.
I might have missed the most recent one, but it's not necessarily actual esport titles, because even for our program, we don't support sport-related esports. So like Madden, 2K, we don't have any teams like that. It hasn't been very popular. It exists. Some universities do have it, but it's not as popular. And so what they brought on was more traditional sport esports, or like VR style, real life style esports that doesn't match up with the professional esports scene that a lot of people know. And so it caught a little bit of flack for that. And from my understanding, it kind of came down to the game developers as well too. There was a back and forth between the Olympics and the game developers on using their games, and that's something different than sports. No one has the rights to football. Anybody can start a football league if they want to, whereas esports, the game developers own the rights, and so it's really up to them. If we're allowed to compete, if we're allowed to do what we do, they get the final say as the game developers and the creators of those games.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of weird. It would be sort of like if it'd be like if Olympic soccer, like if somebody owned all the turf, you know what I mean? Like you kind of you are at the mercy of the platform a little bit. So I kind of sympathize with. I think somebody showed like a virtual tennis game that they were proposing. I think it was tennis. Yeah. In one of the videos I saw, and it was like everyone was like, "What is that?" It kind of stifles the excitement a little bit. But I think the fact that the discussion is happening.
Yeah, I think it's good. And I think even seeing professional athletes avidly talk about gaming, Jokic from the Nuggets, talking about how he plays League of Legends, and other professional athletes talking about how they play games. It's just becoming more and more mainstream media and something that's not so frowned upon like it was before.
Yeah, I feel like COVID did a lot for that softening too, where like when there was these periods of time where a lot of these athletes and celebrities couldn't do anything, suddenly they were showing up on Twitch streams, right?
Yeah, I mean, making their own streams and doing all of that.
It was like prolific for almost 2 years there. I mean, that part of it's died down, but I do feel like it kind of like it kind of codified competitive video gaming in a space that like coexisted with athletics and film stars and things like that. It just became, it kind of like packed it into the zeitgeist a little bit more.
Well, it even helped athletes get into an audience that maybe they weren't reaching before and make that connection and connect with fans they weren't able to before either, because a live stream almost feels more personal than a interview or time on the field in their sport. And so it was kind of something more personal that let people connect with that athlete. And so I think it was something that was really cool to see, and hopefully continue to see some of that, because I think it's great for the athletes and it's great for the fans of those athletes as well too.
Yeah, I think it was really cool. I mean, I was thinking about it. I think, oh my gosh, was it the Super Bowl last year, or was it the College National Championship? They had like streamers outside, not just playing football, just playing games.
Yeah, yep.
Like I saw like they were like going through like all the tailgating stuff, and there's these massive tents set up from like Activision and Sony, or I forget who, but there was stuff like that where you kind of go, all right, like we're bringing people out who are big names in this, like. To the Rose Bowl or whatever it was, and I apologize, I forget what it was.
I think they had some stuff at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's happened multiple times in the last couple of years.
Yeah, they keep bringing in content creators and various people that play esports or gaming and bring them in, and it highlights gaming even more and shows that it's becoming part of mainstream media.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the kind of, even to talk about the kind of the downstream opportunities for students who are involved in this. I know we talk about esports as a business, but then there's just streaming as a business, right? It's huge, and there's obviously streamers who become popular and have revenue coming in, usually start off doing it alone, but once you start making real money, that doesn't last long either. I mean, being a video editor, being somebody who's running their broadcast, being their business manager, understanding the business of the game, I mean, those people can very well be coming from places like our esports program.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the experience we're trying to give them, is things that they can take and put into the real world after college, just like every co-curricular activity.
Is there anything coming up either here at CMU or in the esports like scene that you're excited about right now? What are you looking at in the near future?
So I'm really excited about just continuing to grow the program. Last year was my first full year with the program, working with the program, and we've made a lot of strides. And this year we, announced scholarships and a coach. So we're making an even bigger step this year. So just year to year, the opportunities that we have as a program to help not just elevate our students, but also elevate the university in the space of collegiate esports, and continue to work with our athletic conference and the national bodies. I sit on a few committees and stuff, so just trying to keep pushing esports forward and help CMU be on that map and help support these students and highlight the students we have here at CMU.
How could the community help support you? If you could ask for something from the people that might be listening who are in our close community or in the broader community, what would you ask them to do?
If you're interested in the program at all, want to learn more, reach out to us. You know, we have lots of opportunities in terms of facilities, supporting our students, supporting our teams. Just like an athletic program, we need support from the community to make things happen and to support our students even more. So reach out to us, talk to us, and we'd be happy to have a conversation about anything from our facilities to our teams to, you know, ways to support our students in travel, equipment, various things, just to get more support for them and help them, you know, be the best that they can be.
And how do I become a spectator of CMU esports? What's the best way?
We stream and put all of our content onto YouTube. We like YouTube a lot, and we found that a lot of our viewers are family members of our players, and they use YouTube a little bit more. So youtube.com/@CMISH that's the link. You can find all of our live streams and content there of our matches.
We'll make sure they can click it on our YouTube link.
Perfect.
If I'm a young esports athlete or I have one at home, what's a good way to get started, to get noticed, to be prepared to potentially play for my college team?
Yeah, it's a great question. It was actually something I was surprised the first summer camp I ran. I was expecting parents to be like, what is this? What's going on in here? And they were actually asking, how can I get involved? Is there like an AAU of esports? And so, you know, we started figuring that out. And there's high school leagues, there's amateur leagues, ways to get involved. And if a student wants to get involved, reach out to us as, you know, college directors and, you know, directors in the collegiate space. We're always trying to help students get involved in their middle school, high school leagues and get started there, because a student that comes to us with experience is a lot better than a student with no experience. Not to, you know, scare off college students that haven't had experience, but it's better to come in with some experience. So we tell parents, look out for amateur leagues. There's always something going on in major towns like Grand Rapids, Detroit. There's some type of esport event or some tournament going on that they can participate in. And luckily for some of the games, they've actually built in tournaments within the game. So just competing in those and participating in those would help a lot for the students that are trying to get started in esports and get involved. And for students that aren't looking to compete but do anything, start making your own content, doing your own things, trying out video editing. Just try it. Once you start trying it, you'll learn things as you go and get better and better. And so by the time you're going to a college, you can say, hey, I've already made videos on esports. I've made highlight reels. I've done these things. Let me do that for your program. And it's going to be an easy, yes, please do that. Because I'm one person. I can't do everything. So more students, the greater.
Right. So you gotta have the tape, right? It's like your mom with the VHS when you're out at batting when you're
and
in.
It doesn't have to be perfect either.
Yeah.
Something that is showing that you're putting in effort and trying to learn. Because again, we're not going to get, you know, students come in and work with us. They're not experts in their field. They're students that are learning. So we're always there to help them build through it, improve it, and make it better for them. So it's a really good portfolio when they're leaving college.
That's awesome. I've got a really great collection of Time Splitters 2 clips of me playing. Just joking. There was no way to record Time Splitters 2.
Coming back to be a student?
I was good at Time Splitters 2 multiplayer. We had to play it on the 4-way split screen on the original Xbox on our Dukes.
That's awesome.
Sat around with the Dukes to play. It was great, man.
That's awesome.
They had the monkey horde mode. I recommend that one if you could find it on a 360.
That still is a thing.
Oh my gosh, that's a franchise that died so bad.
That's unlucky.
Luke, thanks so much for coming over and talking to us about video games. It makes me want to go and play some games with my son and get destroyed. Not every time. Thanks so much for coming in, man.
Yeah,
it's good
thanks
to meet
for
you.
having me. It was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for stopping by the search bar. Make sure that you like and subscribe so that you don't have to search for the next episode.